third largest economy in the world, and India will achieve this feat within next 4 to 5 years time period. That is before 2027. Further, India is aspiring to be a developed country by 2047 to achieve a comparable living standard for its citizens in line with some of the advanced countries in the world. All this calls for a substantial increase in energy consumption, resulting into higher energy demand, and that too of clean energy to meet countries' energy transition obligations and to be a net zero country by 2007. A comprehensive study on India's energy transition by premier Indian think tank Vivekananda International Foundation and IIT Bombay comes out with a conclusion that India's energy demand by 2070 will be around 24,470 terawatt hours, which is much higher than the current level of 6,292 terawatt hours. VIF IIT model also predicts that renewable dominated energy transition will be much costlier for India by around 4.3 trillion US dollars. High electricity price, land availability, import dependency on China are some of the other big constraints uh, to go with the renewable dominated energy mix. Therefore, nuclear is the clear answer to play an important role in India. And India, as far as current status is concerned, has an operating capacity of something around 7.48 gigawatt, and with addition of 15 gigawatt capacity, which is under construction at present time, uh, and will be brought in line in next 7 to 8 years, the total installed capacity of India will go up to 22.5 gigawatt by 2035. This is an impressive number in terms of nuclear capacity addition by any single country in the world today. However, India's future energy requirement, as concluded by VIF IIT study, are far more too difficult to be met by renewable sources only, and that necessitates the substantial portion of India's clean energy share coming from nuclear. India is therefore looking out for a major nuclear scale-up in the country. That will come with a huge business opportunities for nuclear stakeholders in India and globally. However, there are challenges as well, and nuclear liability is one of them, and is very much an India-specific challenge that we will try to discuss and analyze today with our eminent expert on this panel. So, sir, Mr. Nair, with this background, I would like to move to you to please give us a brief detail on the Indian nuclear legal framework in the country, particularly in relation to the nuclear liability. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Vinay. Good afternoon to you all. This was a very short kind of an introduction I would like to make. We had our Nuclear Liability Act enacted in 2010. Then later we had our rules in 2011. Then immediately after this act and rules were enacted, there were a couple of apprehensions raised by both Indian industry as well as foreign suppliers. Certain clauses of this nuclear liability were people were at least at large, there were some apprehensions, but we had published that frequently asked questions 1 and 2. So by that, we have most of the aspects have been covered. But I would like to tell that we have a nuclear insurance pool also. So I don't think there is a very serious concern. We can put it in two ways. One is the PHWR stream, where the nuclear power corporation, the operator, they're themselves taking the responsibility as a supplier. So whichever foreign suppliers are supplying to a nuclear power corporation, NPCL, PHWRs, I don't see there is any issue because the supplier definition is taken care by NPCL. Coming back to the foreign supplied reactors, we have in 2015, there is a nuclear insurance pool set up by GACRE. So that takes care of all the aspects. If the participants have any specific queries or any apprehensions, you may ask me so that I'll try to explain. Thank you.
Okay, well, so there are certain queries. I mean, it will be better that we go one by one and incorporate them also. So there are certain queries in regard to this question. Like DAE comes out with some FAQs. So there are some queries from one of our audience, and the specific question is that what is the degree of enforceability of the response, or the response to these FAQs by DAE in regard to the Indian Nuclear Act.
Well, those FAQs are framed based on the parliamentary discussions. That's how it becomes. There is a legal sanctity. If it goes to the court of law, the fundamental premises on which this FAQ was framed on, that was based on the parliamentary discussions. So that way we have a very strong legal footing that even if it goes to the court, the basic premise will be respected, and I don't think there is any difficulty. So if you ask me per se, I mean, if that can be legally, what is the legal sanctity? That's a bit of I can't answer that question because I'm not a legal fellow, but I can definitely say that because of the parliamentary discussion or deliberations backing, this definitely has got a very strong legal background. Thank you.
Thank you. So there are some also related question to it. We will go into those aspects at the later stage. So now, as you also put it in your initial remark, that liability is not an issue. So putting this liability into perspective, why do you think that liability is not a roadblock, or is it so? And could you explain it with us with some comparative assessment with the international conventions as practiced in other countries? Mr. Nair.
Hello, my sound has become a problem. I'll try to. Hello.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Hello.
Yes, absolutely.
One second. Let me.
Okay, so my question was, let me repeat it, that could you, putting this liability into perspective, why do you think that it is not? Am I audible?
Yeah, hello.
Yeah. Is it okay, sir? Can we continue?
Hello.
Yeah. Hello. You are audible too. You are audible.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Can you just repeat the question? I got a disconnect.
Sure. So putting liability issue in perspective, why do you think that liability is not a roadblock? If you can explain it, with some perspective on or some comparative assessment with the kind of the conventions, international conventions practiced in other countries.
Well, there are a couple of points I would like to make. One is we have the insurance regime which is very strongly in place now. Now I can explain you why. If let us see how the right of recourse is. That's the main contention. The right of recourse is once if there is an unlikely incident, nuclear incident, what happens is the operator has to pay promptly. That is very clear. There is no doubt concerned. There is absolutely no doubt. The first reaction is by the operator. He has to compensate the victims, and then there will be a postmortem to find out. There is a clause that the operator can take the right of recourse. No, but the issue here is now we have taken, operator has taken insurance. So the operator's right has to be subrogated to the insurance agency. Now, if you can understand, it's not the operator who is going to, if at all there is a right of recourse, it's not the operator who is going to exercise the right, but it's the insurance agency. So that same insurance agency is giving a coverage to the supplier also. So obviously that clarifies the point, because one cannot have that kind of thing. This is very clear and a very simple answer. The operator, whoever the GAC covers the operator, and the same there is a insurance mechanism from for the supplier also. So that's how, and the subrogation right is with the GAC. So there is no question of, or it's not logical to think that there could be a serious concern.
Okay. And moreover, because as far as when you have touched upon the this suppliers question, so there are almost 3,000 suppliers and over 100 DPC players in the Indian nuclear market who are operating today. So
Right.
I mean, so managing this insurance policy, supplier policy in particular, for every transaction, it will become really difficult, if we go by the way that the kind of doubts that global supplier in particular have in their mind.
Yes, that's why what is being thought of is for the foreign supplier, the main contractor, for example, the Westinghouse or the EDF, they'll be mainly taking the role of the supplier, and there are many rungs of sub-suppliers, but the main contract, then PCL is going to sign is with one of these companies.
Okay, thank you. And then, sir, now if insurance pool is an answer, but then why is it still, hesitation lingering on?
But I don't think there is any serious concern for that, because if you see take the case of, we had initial difficulty when for our PHWRs, the Indian suppliers were little bit apprehensive, but once NPCL has taken up the responsibility supplier, that apprehension is gone. Similarly, and for the main foreign suppliers, the insurance and GAC is providing coverage for the suppliers. So I don't think there could be a serious concern in this aspect.
Thank you. And then coming to something which we call, I mean, India is already cooperating with Russia for around 6,000 megawatt nuclear capacity, right? 2,000 megawatt capacity is already in operating stage, and
Yes.
then there are 4,000 megawatt capacities under construction. So
Right.
could you share with us, throw some light on this India-Russia collaboration experience and how the two countries could manage it in a smoother way despite of the liability challenge?
First of all, the liability regime, the contract, or rather the agreement, intergovernmental agreement, was signed prior to the liability regime. That's how the Russian thing, and they are not very much concerned like the other Western countries. They're not much concerned about this aspect. Whereas for the other aspect, and then for the new supplies, there are still some apprehensions, but then it's being taken care. There is no difficulty currently.
Okay, thank you. And then coming to, with this example of Russian-India collaboration, and then the way currently India is managing its local suppliers, what practical collaboration approaches and support mechanism would you suggest for global suppliers that are interested to enter into Indian nuclear market?
Currently, some of the suppliers are still a bit apprehensive for even supplying to these Russian projects. But what happens is, this being one issue, one issue is, let me just recollect. NPCL being the operator, they have again, because this specific project was before the IGA regime, so they are trying to take the coverage under that intergovernmental regime. That is how it is being taken care currently.
Okay.
I don't think there is no issue. There is now there are many Indian companies supplying to Kudankulam projects without any difficulty.
Okay. And sir, now coming to some detailing part of it, like 17B, right? It explained about legal recourse to the suppliers, right? And then we all, when we go into interpretation, there is an interpretation that this is a mandatory. I mean, this is a enabling provision, not a mandatory provision, right?
Yep.
And basically the operational part of it will come into the contractual agreement, which is usual business and legal sort of business practice everywhere across the different countries in the world, right? So
That
I mean, but then as far as the legal enforceability is concerned, if NPCL waiver of suppliers for any sort of liability, so will that stand in the
it
court
will
of law?
it will work. We have got certain legal advices from Delhi that NPCL as the operator, they have the right to waive off uh, the recourse part in that contract. But then it's
Okay.
up to NPCL to decide how they wanted to exercise that right. There could be questions asked, but then they have the right.
Okay, so I mean, so NPCL has the legal right to waiver off any supplier through the contractual agreement. If
They have they have the option. It's an optional. It's an
it's
enabling
an
provision.
option. Okay, thank you very much for that clarification. So, sir, now there are some questions from audience also, and audience may please drop your messages and your questions if you have any. There are already some questions that we have received, and there is one regarding U.S.-Indian agreement. In the text, the agreement reached between the US and India on January 25th, 2015. Is this publicly available, sir?
Can you just say it again?
There was a US Indian agreement which was agreed upon by both the countries in January 2015.
Oh, you mean to say no, this is between NPCL and the corresponding company in US. So whereas the intergovernmental agreement copies are available in open domain, but the other agreements are not in open domain.
Not available. And can you please share your insight on this, whether it will prevail over the Indian Act in case of contradiction?
Definitely, what happens is the Indian Act is going to be definitely it will override. But then there'll be a consideration given for other things also. There'll be it is a legal matter basically. So and the Act it will supersede. That's
Okay.
my understanding.
Thank you. And now coming to the insurance part, right? As we were discussing that if insurance is there, then why there is hesitation? So there are some questions in regard to this. It appears that an insurance program would cover the operator liability under Article 6 of the Indian Nuclear Act.
Right.
And of the suppliers under Article 17 of the same Act. Does it cover only damages to the third parties or as well, or damages to the nuclear installation?
Oh, it's only to the third party. It's a third
Only
party
to
level.
yes.
Public charge, not at all for nuclear installation damage. No.
Okay, thank you. And who pays the premium? Only NPCL. I think for operators liability, operators policy, it is NPCL, right?
It's paid by NPCL, right?
Okay. And then there is a question: do they need to declare to the insurance pool ahead of the time before supplier deliver any goods and services the name of the suppliers, including foreign suppliers involved in the project, build or maintenance activities in order for the suppliers involved to be covered by the insurance?
Currently, in fact, this answer can be better explained by GIS experts, but I can give you an indication. They would like to have a list of sub-suppliers because even the insurance mechanism, the suppliers insurance has a provision to include the sub-suppliers also they have an offer. The sub-suppliers also included. So if they know in advance, then the premium can be accordingly adjusted.
Okay.
But anyway, this correct answer should come from an insurance agency.
Thank you.
It cannot be very good on my part to speak on behalf of the insurance agency.
So, and are the suppliers named insured under the insurance policy? You have just answered that, I think.
Yes.
Okay. So, is there any right of recourse from the insurance company against the supplier?
Once you are taking that supplier's insurance, then there is no question of it has very been amply been cleared by our insurance agency also. We had raised this question, but only thing is that suppliers may have to, or the main supplier has to take that subrogation rights from the sub suppliers. In that case, there will not be any kind of. In fact, if you see 17B only empowers the operator the right of recourse, not the sub-suppliers or suppliers. I mean, if you can see that you can't go beyond that. Well, it's only the operator has got the right of recourse.
Okay,
That,
thank you.
that has to be subject to insurance agency and not beyond that. This is my understanding.
Okay, thank you very much. And now DEA's response on clause 17B of the Nuclear Act state that it allows a right of recourse from operator against supplier, mainly based on product liability, which is exactly what Paris Convention and Vienna Convention try to prevent. How do you explain to this?
Well, if you see CSC, we are almost in line with CSC. The CSC provision 10 has 2 clauses, whereas we have added one more. That's because of the parliamentary, there was some discussion in parliament, and then it was a bit beyond our kind of thing that this clause is added. So basically, what you said is correct. Actually, those clauses may not be there, but then we have other mechanisms to take care of this kind of difficulties.
And then the question is also, regarding that NPCL response in this respect, referring to product liability apparently relate to 17B. However, the only place where Indian Act and the applicable rule refer to product liability is in Article 24 of the rule, which concerns only Article 17A, not 17B. How do you explain? So product liability is specific to 17A, or can we interpret it for 17B also?
Actually, it is basically for 17. I wouldn't differentiate between 17A and B because the right of recourse and the time and the amount both are defined in rules. It's the initial licensing period is the time, and the amount is either 1,500 crores or the contract value, whichever is less. If somebody is giving a small equipment worth few crores, he'll not be responsible for the 1,500 crores. Whereas if there's a huge contract of say 10,000 crores, then the lower, that means operator liability is a maximum ceiling, 1,500 crores.
Perfect. And then as far as the time period is concerned, this is initial license period, and this extend to 5 years. Yeah. And then for product liability, the period is around 7 years or so generally.
That's no, there is a small. I mean, the initial licensing period is always 5 years. But what happens to the equipment? Maybe sometimes before the initial fuel loading, the equipment may be supplied. So you need to have a small cushion for that amount. That's how slightly it goes to. The equipment may be supplied much earlier, but your liability starts from the day of fuel loading.
And so then for the clarification of all our audience, could you please let us know that after 7 years or 8 years, whatever is the time period, the supplier's liability goes away. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Thank you very much. Now, as far as there is a NPCL response to 9 of the right of recourse under Article 24. Yeah, so I think we were just discussing that regarding this the mandatory nature of this provision. However, now the question is regarding the language part. It is the provision states shall include a right of recourse for not less than ... The combination of shall and not less than implies an obligation rather than an option. So how do you explain it? I mean, do you still consider it mandatory or just an enabling provision?
I think it's an enabling because the Act very clearly says it's an enabling provision. So the rule is basically subordinate legislation. So if there is any bit of this thing, then the Act prevails.
Well, so now Article 24 of the November 2021 rules refer to Article 17A and not 17B. we have just, I think we have touched upon this point. So do you confirm that NPCL is legally entitled to waiver any right of claim against the faulty supplier, whether for damages to third parties and for damages to the nuclear installation, even if NPCL may not be commercially likely to accept it?
This nuclear installation, even the operator is not liable. Then where is the question of the supplier?
Okay, thank
Second
you, sir.
part is, yes, they can, NPCL has the legal right of, now whether they have to, they can exercise the right, probably an NPCL management has to take a call. But they have,
Okay.
they have a right of, they can waive the right.
Thank you very much. And sir, would this waiver be valid even if in case of gross negligence?
There are many other provisions also, for example, a natural calamity, etc., etc. And then
Okay.
gross negligence, even that is there, even CSC also, if I remember right, 10A. So that may still hold good.
And okay, thank you very much. And now one question which is I think not related to liability, but regarding Jetapur project. And the question is, will do you see that the the agreement which is there between India and US, will the same kind of arrangement be made for India and France?
It will be in the same platform. I don't think there is any differentiation between.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
Yeah.
So now there are
Anyway, between two companies, it's now the two companies can decide what should be the wording of the contract. So, but the general principles, as far as IGA is concerned, all the other principles of IGA will be the same.
now, as we were just, referring to one question that this is this is an enabling provision, right? As far as 17 and 17B are concerned. So there is a question that where does it basically make mention of this? The act make mention of it. Could you please let us know about?
It's there in the act. If the contract, if the contract, if there is in writing, there is a specific mention of that in 17A. Before that 17A, so it's there, that has to be there in writing. I don't have the act right now with me, otherwise I could have read out that it's there.
Okay.
In just for 17 clause, that it's very clearly mentioned.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So for the audience, if you have any further question, please drop in your questions in the chat box, and we will try to get answer for you. Mr. Padma Kumar is with us, and he will be sort of clarifying the doubts that global suppliers have in regard to the Indian liability issues. There is one question. The Canadian suppliers are restricted when working with India and generally need clearance from Global Affairs Canada before interacting with India on nuclear technology. What can be done to improve this relationship? This is a bit.
I think we can sort out through MEA. Minister of External Affairs will be able to sort out this issue. They are supposed to do that. I mean, I think this is possible.
Okay, so this
with MEA of India and then the corresponding foreign ministry, this can be discussed and sorted out. This is my feeling.
Okay, so can such a requests go from the nuclear stakeholders of both the countries to to respective foreign affairs ministries?
I understand it's the problem which Canadian suppliers are facing, if at all they are facing. So they can approach their government, and then corresponding MEA, we can address this issue. I don't think that's a serious difficulty.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. So I think we have almost the questions have been answered. And if there are any unanswered questions, please let us know. We will. We are here for.
Or we can drop a mail I mean, if some later also, if there are some queries, you can drop a mail and I'll try to.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, thank you very much for that. Uh, I mean, kind gesture. And even if you have got any questions, in regard to liability issues, you may drop in your messages to us, and we will try to get your answers from Mr. Padma Kumar, who has directly worked on all these issues, and he has very good experience of working on several such assignments.
So for as a concluding remark, I can say that the sub-suppliers have absolutely nothing to worry about. This is my personal feeling. The main suppliers, anyway, you have a insurance mechanism. They'll take care of it. We can even arrange a meeting with the insurance agency who can clearly tell what exactly should be. That may be a good idea. Next meeting, probably you can involve the insurance agency people also, JAC, as well as the New India Assurance, who is supplying the insurance. So we can do that.
Okay.
That's
Sure,
not an
sure.
issue.
Sure, sir. And sir, there are some small questions coming from the audience. One question is from Steve Dixon. And the question is, we are a third-party supplier to KSV. I think it's a pump company. So what is our liability?
Your liability is only your contract value. That's all.
Okay. And there's another question. I think it's she's trying to clarify. Said, did I hear you correctly that the operator anyway has a right to recourse, and operator decide himself whether to exercise it or not?
That's correct.
That's correct. Thank you. And then another, Mr. There's question regarding sharing your email ID. Surely we will share Mr. Nair's email ID with you. Could we have the contact of the insurance specialists in an email? Sure. We are. There are several, insurance specialists and insurance companies themselves who we work closely with. So we will surely we will share their contact details with you, and maybe we can organize requirements comes. We can organize one dedicated session with them also.
Yes, that's correct.
So, sir, I think the questions are almost over. So, what would you sort of will be your concluding remarks in this regard?
Yeah, what I would say is that for the sub-suppliers, I don't see any cause of concern, any cause of worry for, at least for considering. I have seen many of your foreign suppliers not even considering quoting for NPCL project. That's very, I mean, you can definitely, it's a business opportunity, and that the insurance mechanism is very much in place. And you can, and anyway, all those foreign supplied reactors will be under safeguards. So there is absolutely no issue for this kind of apprehensions. You please quote and try to move ahead. That's my concluding remark.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. We fully agree with you that, liability issue has been, as far as Indian liability issue is concerned, I think it's, of course, there was initial, doubts, but then several of the doubts by none other than the parties involved have been clarified at several occasions. So it is now up to the global stakeholders to come out and rather than sharing this doubting apprehensions, we should try to collaborate because as all of us are working together as an industry, and there is an obligation upon nuclear industry also to basically come out and enable this energy transition, which is very much required globally.
Sub-suppliers liability is very small, and even the insurance premium is just peanuts. So I would say that if you consider taking a supplies insurance, the main supplier, then it will take care of everything. This is my
yes. So there is nothing to doubt, and I think Indian nuclear liability regime is as usual, as any other nuclear liability across different countries. And I mean, these are not the novel ones, as it is mentioned in the one of the FAQs released by DAE. These are
Correct.
usual, related usual ones like product liability or any other, usual liability. So now with this, I think we can wrap up our discussion, and I would like to thank Mr. Padma Kumar Nair for his kind presence, despite of his bad health. So, and all the audience for taking out your time to make it happen. And we also request and we announce that there is going to be a big nuclear conference in India in October 10th and 11th this year in Mumbai. So there are several of such topics related to the insurance, related to the legal aspect and the business opportunity, the kind of the different collaboration and partnership opportunities that one can look in the Indian market. So all of those kind of opportunities are there in that particular conference, and DAE itself is going to be the official partner of this conference, and there will be major participation from Niti Aayog, from NPCIL, from NTPC, from Atomic Energy Regulatory Board, and all the key stakeholders in the Indian nuclear sector. So we would like to have your participation in that particular conference. So please uh, join us and in that particular conference, and let's collaborate and work together to basically help out India in its nuclear scale. So thank you. With this remark, I would like to thank everybody once again and for your kind presence and for your interest in the Indian nuclear market. So with this, we are winding up. Bye bye. Have a nice day.
Yeah, thank you, the participants, and Vinay. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.